Okay, welcome to the fundamentals of decision making. And I wanted to make this video because, or really this kind of like micro mini training, because all around us right now we see we're involved in just a lot of disruption, a bit of maybe chaos. And what's needed now more than ever is to really bone up on some fundamental skills in leadership and management. So if you're watching this, you're probably in one of two camps. You're either a key decision maker who is an owner or senior leader, or you are a supporting leader manager, and you want to do the very best you can to be helpful in your role. So no matter which camp you fall in, this training, aka micro training video, will be very helpful for you, because ultimately everything we do in our personal life and in our business life is all about decision making. So I'm going to ask you to step back for a minute and zero in on looking at your life on a day-to-day basis and how you approach your home life and your work life and your business, and to plug these principles and this information into that context. Just for reminder of background, we are a family of four businesses, actually two right in my household. I own my own business. My husband owns his own construction business. We are constantly in the context of trying to make decisions on a regular basis related to what's going on. So knowing and understanding decision making is just absolutely critical. So I'm making where I would otherwise charge for this. This is what I do with my clients. I want it to be free. Please share it. I just want to help people out as much as possible during this challenging time. So, and also too, just as a reminder, download the worksheet, which you're going to want to use as you go through this video. Okay. All right. So just think for a moment. Everything we do involves a decision. And because that's true, we need to become very skilled at decision making. And yet it's very commonly taken for granted. And, it's just so automatic, we don't even think about it. In fact, decision making is habitual. And even the way we make decisions, the style and the way we make decisions is also habitual as well. It's also one of the 5 key practices of being an effective executive, being an effective executive leader, being an effective leader, being an effective manager. And that's described in detail in the book, The Effective Executive, which is what I'm vlogging and coach and writing about here over the past few months. So it's just critical. It is a critical leadership and management competency. Decisions really are the building blocks, or they lay the stonework towards a direction we want to go in. It takes us someplace, maybe not always in the direction we want to go, but it does determine the direction. And that's why it's so important that we really tune into it, become aware of it, and get better at it. All right, now, this is the framework for how decisions are made. And this is what your handout should look like. And so I'm going to share with you what each of these, I call it actually the decision-making formula. It's also how people operate one-on-one. If you understand why people behave the way they do, why you get the results that you get, this is a great formula to use as a reference point. It's also a great coaching tool. So as you take notes, be very diligent in thinking, okay, how is this relating to me right now? All righty. So the E represents events or experiences. So you are in the middle of having a variety of new and fresh events and experiences every day. And those events and experiences do 2 things. They trigger emotions, they trigger memories that are lodged in your subconscious, and they also trigger thoughts, thought pattern, thought behaviors, and a way of thinking or a wave of thinking related to that particular event. Now, both those triggers and those thoughts actually cultivate, actually generate feelings. And those feelings have a range. They have a range of intensity, and there are a variety of feelings. And by the way, even if you consider yourself a logical person, the most recent brain science reflects that even if you're a logical person and you think you're making a logical decision, the emotional parts of the brain still light up. So feelings and emotions are absolutely involved in every decision, depending on the level and intensity. The thinking and the feelings generate and drive your decision making. We'll go into this a little bit more detail here in just a minute. So thinking and feelings create decisions. Those decisions are really your behaviors, how you act, what you say, and what you do, and that's what cultivate the results. So if you want to have different results, you got to go back up into this formula and say, okay, if I want a different result, I've got to think different. If I want a different result, I've got to feel different. If I want to get a different result, I've got to decide differently. Or if I want a different result, I got to do different. You won't get different unless you do different. And you got to see what is driving my behaviors, the behaviors of my team, or other people that I lead. So what you see is results. You can't fix results until you fix what's actually creating the results. And it all begins right here with your triggers and your thoughts. Now, what's important related to your triggers and your thoughts is everybody has a lens through which an event is channeled through. Okay, we all have unique lens. That lens is made up of a few core components. First of all, it's made up of your personality. Your personality is how your brain is naturally wired to process your life experience. It's also your values. We'll go into these in more detail in just a second. Your beliefs about a situation and other things, your life experience and life conditioning, and your current base of knowledge. That creates a unique lens by which is then your thoughts are generated, your feelings are generated, and from which your decisions are made. Your lens is really your world. In fact, you may have said to a colleague, hey, what's happening in your world today? We have our own world. And, when I work with leaders and managers, I say, we all are, when we go into work every day, we are operating out of our own worlds. And our goal as leaders and managers is to have those worlds collaborate rather than collide. And that's your goal as a leader and manager as you work to get results through people. Alrighty, so you use this lens. When you have an event or an experience, you use this lens to then describe the event or experience to yourself. In fact, every event or experience that you have, you give it a story. That story is your interpretation of the event through your distinct, unique lens. We also call that your internal dialogue. So here's what's interesting. Two people can have the exact same event, can experience the exact same event, and interpret it or see it or perceive it in completely different ways. Does that make someone else's interpretation right or wrong? That's where we get into conflict. Please know, people can have the same experience and interpret it completely different ways based on their distinct, unique lens. So what's also important then is the story you give yourself on the inside becomes the story you relay or communicate to people on the outside. Now, we're talking about what the process is, what's the process of decision making and also the influencers. So here are the key influencers. What becomes a part of your lens, or what we call your interpretation or your world view? Your distinct lens, first of all, has your personality. And I'll actually go into more detail about personality here in just a second. You can map out sort of where you lay in that. Also, too, you have values. Your values are what matters most to you. And please know as a manager or leader that those you lead make decisions based on what's most important to them first, not you, not even the company. See, a lot of managers want their team members to make decisions based on or to act out of the manager's values or the company values. That's kind of assumed. But subconsciously, people make decisions out of the things that matter most to them. Also, they make decisions through what they believe. This is really powerful and super important to understand. There are generally three types of beliefs. Beliefs that are empowering, beliefs that are limiting, and beliefs that are sabotaging. And please know that beliefs don't have to be rational and they don't have to be true. And yet people make major life decisions based on these beliefs. So what are some examples of each of these three? Empowering. A belief of, let's say someone is looking at a job description and they want to apply for a job, and they look at the job description and their self-talk, their thinking in their brain goes like this: oh yeah, I could do that job. Ooh, I'm really good at that. Oh yeah, absolutely, I can do that. The I can do that is an empowering belief. It gives you power to act in a certain way. It gives you confidence. It gives you willingness. It gives you motivation. That's an empowering belief. A limiting belief goes something like this. It means I can do something up to a point. Yeah, I can do that, but only this. We can achieve this goal, but only to this amount. That's a limiting belief. It's can do, but up to a point. And then we have sabotaging. And that is, nope, can't do it. Nope, can't be done. Nope, that'll never work. Those are sabotaging. It means you won't even get out of the gate. You won't even get started with a sabotaging belief. Now think about this for a second. If beliefs are not necessarily true or rational, that means you could have a sabotaging or limiting belief that you make a decision about that may not necessarily be true. Just because you believe it to be true doesn't mean it's actually true. I mean, it's super important. Just because you believe you can't do something doesn't mean it's true that you can't actually do it. So again, beliefs are one of the core elements of making decisions, and you've got to be tuned in and aware to what is driving your decision making, particularly during a time of challenge or change or chaos. So beliefs are hugely consequential. And then also your life conditioning. Now, here's the thing. Your beliefs and your values have been shaped by your life experience and conditioning to date. So conditioning means you've created habits of thoughts based on your life experience. So it's kind of like going to the gym. You get conditioning. Condition means repetition. And so when you have repeated action, repeated thoughts, they become automatic, habitual, subconscious, and unconscious. You don't even have to think about it. It just happens. So your life experience has conditioned you into a way of thinking, into a condition of behaving that, and by the way, and has conditioned a set of beliefs that may not even be true, may not even be rational. So your life conditioning is super important to seeing how you have been shaped. Okay. And then we also have your knowledge base, because all of your life experience has built a certain knowledge base up to now from which that you make decisions. And in leadership and management, in most cases, you need new information to make better decisions. And so you'll need to ask yourself, okay, what new information do I need to take in? Who do I need to talk to? What questions do I need to ask so I can make the best decision possible? And all of this information is going to shape your interpretation of a current situation that will aid you in making the best decision possible. Okay? Now, as we go through the decision-making formula, the next thing we need to park on for just a moment is feelings. And this is really huge. I mean, like beliefs also cause the feelings. So I want you to think for a moment, what feelings influence and drive decision-making for you? What are the dominant feelings in place that drive your decision making? So I've got a popular list here from the many years of doing this workshop, and it's really interesting what comes up. Obviously, one of the most pressing or popular decisions, emotions and feelings involved in decision making now is fear. And so that's really, or stress, being overwhelmed, exhausted, tired. A lot of decision is being made out of that. And what's hugely important to remember now is we've got to manage the negative feelings to get the best outcomes with our decisions. So, for example, for my husband and I that are, running businesses, we can't let fear influence the decisions that we make. We've got to be very clear on what are the most viable and useful outcomes and results we need as we're making decisions about our business, whether to lay people off, whether to accept a particular job. My husband's in virus mitigation and mold and other things. So this is really, this is a really stressful time for both of us as he decides what projects have the least or most amount of risk. All of those things are super, all of those things involve lots of feelings from him and me as we make these decisions. So this is a very important exercise. And I would actually invite you to stop stop the video right now and really think about this in terms of really getting tuned in to your decisions. You might want to keep an emotion, feelings or an emotion journal. Track every day, how am I feeling today? And to what level on a scale of 1 to 5, so that you can monitor this, so that you can be in tune to it to make the best decisions. Now, of the feelings that were listed, here's the 3 that you need to be the most tuned into, and I call it fog: fear, obligation, and guilt. By the way, I didn't think this. It came from the book Emotional Blackmail. It's a fabulous book about how to deal with unhealthy relationships. But this also works too in decision making. Is fear, obligation, and guilt. When we have fog mentally, when we are not clear, we will not make the best decisions. We need to be in a very mentally and emotionally, spiritually resourceful state to make the best decisions. Okay, that's why I offer sessions, and literally I offer listening sessions to my clients. They call me up and I really just listen to them because they need to process what they're thinking, because a lot of people try to make decisions when they're confused and when they don't have clarity, and that's very difficult. It's very stressful. It's just not the best scenario. So you need sounding boards. You need folks that are in your life that have a discerning ear as it relates to you processing and sort of detangling, misting out the fog, clearing out the fog so you can get clarity, because clarity is emotional and mental and physical, even in your gut, of how to make the best decision. All right, you want to go from fog to clear, and sometimes you have to get your lens wiped off so that you can see clear, and that's what really a listening session is, that I offer with my clients. Okay, so the question then becomes, what emotions do I need to manage to be able to consistently see clearer? So it's going to be different for everybody. I'm just pulling out these because fog tends to be the most popular. All right, so let's also then talk for a moment about your personality. Now, this is a very simple personality tool that I use in a lot of my leadership and management and team building trainings. And the reason why I want to use this is because this personality tool also reflects some natural decision-making styles. So, and what you'll notice to the one side on this profile is the high need to connect people are probably going to be the people that have the most empathy naturally, because that's kind of how the brain is wired. They're also going to have the people that have the most fog: fear, obligation, and guilt. So on the left-hand side tends to be the more right brain folks, and on the right-hand side, well, the E and F tend to be the more left brain folks, and you'll see what drives them in their personality: efficiency, facts. That's how their brain is more naturally orientated, so they tend to be more logical, more rational on the natural decision-making scale, more methodical, more decisive. So that piece, so that's going to be where they lay as well. So just really know that your personality does lend itself towards certain kind of decision making, and you'll want to be in tune to that as you work through the decision-making formula. All right, so now let's look at some tips on when you have to make tough decisions, because a lot of us are in this situation right now with the current crisis. So I love the quote, by the way, at the bottom by Boone Pickens, who unfortunately just died just recently. But I love this quote: "Be willing to make decisions. That's the most important quality in a good leader. Don't fall victim to what I call the ready, aim, aim, aim syndrome. You have to be willing to fire. The aim, aim, aim is I can't make a decision. I can't make a decision. I can't make a decision. You have to at some point make the decision. And their decision making is really tough when it's tough. When there's more consequences that are not pleasant. And so that brings up my first one, and I'm already going to tell you it's bad grammar, but it makes a point. Realize that there will be situations when you're making a choice between worse, worse, and worser. There is no good choice, pleasurable choice, ideal choice. That just doesn't exist. You have to make a choice between what is not pleasant and just what is awful, not pleasant to awful. You have to realize that that might be the place that you're in. Don't expect it to be different because that'll stall. You'll stay in ready, aim, aim. You want the situation to be different than it is. You have to accept reality the way it is right now. Okay? And you've got to be able to live with what is less than ideal. This is so tough for everybody, but particularly managers and leaders and business owners. And you have to frame it, whatever decision you make, you have to frame it in a way that others can be able to see it as less than ideal as well. So you have to say, I know this is not ideal. You have to frame it, you have to prepare them because you have to deliver truth. You must deliver truth. People can't stand BS. People's brains are wired. They have natural BS detectors. The more compassionate and truthful you can be, the more integrity you'll have, and the better it will be for everyone. Also, if you frame this as right or wrong, you will have a really hard time making tough decisions. In the world of many decisions, it's not about right or wrong. It's about what is most useful, what's most constructive, what's the best outcome right now. If you frame it as right or wrong, you will stay stuck in aim, 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 and it will just cause a huge mental trap. What is good, better, or best in this moment? Sometimes you only have enough information in a moment to make a decision. And we'll talk about how to create an impact map here to get a macro view. But sometimes it is moment to moment. And that's all the best you can do is moment to moment. And knowing, hey, this decision might change at some point. And you need to let people know that. What's important in tough decision making is to communicate as authentically and honestly with people as possible. Alrighty? And then that leads to the next one. You got to check your courage because you may need to stand by your decision when few others will. It takes a lot of courage to make tough decisions that either people won't understand or they don't have the capacity to understand or they won't agree with. And then you have to just look at your other influencers. One of the major influencers, depending on if you're on the chart where you have a high need to connect to people, is that you want to be liked or agreed with. And you don't like dissent. You don't like going against people. And depending on your personality, you're going to have to really keep that in check. You have to do what's best amid great dissent. And that's where the courage part comes in. And then for expanded decision making, you may need to use an impact map. And this helps you make those tough decisions because the more information you can get, the clearer you can see an issue, the more confidence and conviction you will get about making those tough decisions. And I recommend a very simple exercise. And this is not a highly sophisticated SWOT analysis. This is just the simple decision making 101 is using what I call the Power Six: who, what, when, where, how, and why. So you may need to make a decision-making map. I just call it simple mind mapping. Just put it out there on the paper. Drawing, by the way, is both a left brain and a right brain activity. Map things together, connect things. Let your brain start to process what's happening. And that helps, by the way, as you're doing the mind mapping activity, you're beginning to reduce the fog and getting more clarity and activating the left brain, which is the more logical, rational, reasoning part of the brain. And if you stay in your right brain, you'll continue to be in the fog. Okay? So here are the Power Six, and you can use this tool, number one, to expand your knowledge of the current situation. But what you want to do is write out in as detail as possible what is the current situation. And you can even use the what I call the Power Six to do number one. Who's involved? What's involved? Where, are locations an issue? When, how, and why? And then number two is consider, as you're making a decision and as you're contemplating decision, you have to consider what is the macro impact to my decision. So you have to enlarge your view of the consequence or the impact of your decision. So you have to ask, who will be impacted? What will be impacted? Where will the impact occur? When will the impact occur? How will people be impacted? And also for how long will the impact occur? And then why will the impact occur? Why is it happening now? And why is one of the essential questions to ask for problem solving, process improvement, mitigating reoccurrence. That's essential in making the best decision going forward. All righty. All I'm suggesting is this is a very simple mind mapping process to get rid of the fog or to minimize the fog, mitigate the fog, so that you can at some point move forward, even if it's micro steps. Even if you can't make a major decision now, make some sort of decision, because action does bring more clarity, and action also attracts opportunity. So this is a way to get unstuck. This is the way to not be paralyzed and at least begin to make some micro steps that can help you make the more major steps, micro decisions, major decisions. That's what you want to shoot for. See, what happens in decision making is that people try to make the big major decision right away. When what you may need to do, and in most cases, what we discover with clients and, in our own business, we have to just make micro decisions first, okay? Sometimes the bigger decision you just can't make right now. All you can do is make the micro decisions. So people want to make, and also too, the other, going back to the mental trap, if we try to make the right decision, the big right decision right away, that completely fogs up I call it constipates your thinking. It just makes it difficult to make a decision. Then that's where the anxiety, the stress, the overwhelm begins to mount, because you're putting all this pressure on yourself to make a decision when really you just can't make it at that point. So you have to break it down into micro steps, micro actions, in order to be able to move forward so that you don't paralyze yourself. Alrighty, here's the bottom line. Effective leadership is maintaining a vision while realistically and skillfully managing the gray. And so when you're in the big picture, you're saying, okay, here's where we are now, and here's where we want to be, or here's where I want us to be. And I have to get from point A to point B. And so the gray is the reality of what's included in the journey to get to where I want to be. Managing the gray, accepting the gray. It is not black and white, people. If you're a black and white thinker, you're in a hell of a lot of trouble, because it'll keep you trapped, it'll keep you paralyzed, it'll keep you in the paralysis of analysis. It will impact your team and your business. You'll lose money. If you're going to mitigate loss, risk, you've got to be able to live in the gray, make micro decisions, and make micro steps in the gray, knowing you're at least moving the needle. Even if it's a little bit, it's at least progress, okay? That's what I just described to you is what we call effective executive management. See, there's executive leadership, and in housed in executive leadership is also executive management. You can't have one without the other. And that is facilitating progress, ensuring progress from point A to point B, no matter how small the progress is. Okay, so here's just a summary of what we've been talking about. You have to really be tuned in to what and how you think. Do you tend to be more right brain, tend to be more left brain? I know it's not an all or nothing. If you're situational, that's good too, but just need to be tuned into how you think and what you think. What are your thinking influencers. How has your life been conditioned for you to think the way you do? What are the dominant feelings that are present right now in the midst of you're trying to make even micro decisions, but also very important decisions? And in those feelings, what is your range of intensity? Please know this: intensity skews reality. Okay, it distorts it. So the more you can, I don't even use the word calm down, but the more you can uh, to get rid of or minimize the intensity of your emotion, which means which will help you get clarity, the better you'll be in diffusing. That's the word I was looking for. Diffusing the emotions is going to help you gain clarity. And these exercises I'm asking you to do, suggesting that you do, is going to help you do that. Diffusing emotions is key. Now, one of the things that we do is we give people a roadmap to be able to make decisions, because part of understanding your business is seeing it from a specific viewpoint. So our lens is our executive management roadmap. We have 9 points that we use to ask managers and leaders to consider, okay, what are the key high impact areas of my business as it relates to getting results through people management, that I need to keep on top of and consider when making a decision. So they don't have to think about it. My clients just use the map and they just say, okay, now let me do a checklist here, because they can assess, manage, improve, and monitor all from this one blueprint, a roadmap, and we also call it the executive dashboard as well. So having visuals is super important in working with your brain, both in a right and left brain format, to making better decisions. In fact, we use a bullseye even when we're making decisions as well, because a yellow, you can actually see that. You can see, okay, I want a decision to be really on point versus I don't want to hit the blue or the red, I want to hit the yellow. And what does that look like? And then I got to make a decision about that. So what would be the yellow for you? Consistently achieving the most important results, the best results you can in a current context, even if it's not ideal, is really the call of the hours for leaders now. And that is by the way, the definition, part of the definition of being an effective leader. Now, two resources I want to recommend to you. The Human Quotient, which is an executive briefing book that I wrote a couple of years ago. If you want a free copy of it, just email me and I'll send you a free copy, or you can just get it on Amazon. The book is on Amazon, and also too, the Kindle version is as well. It also talks about decision making and other aspects of your business that are human behavior related. This is an essential resource in being an effective manager and leader. Is just understanding the human element of your business, because hey, decision making is all about humans. It's all about how we act, how we behave. That EFTB formula is all about that. So I want to recommend that resource to you as well. So as we close, here's the most important question: how is your decision making going right now? Okay, I really invite you to use the simple tools that I've laid out to at least begin to learn about your decision making, become more aware of it, and start to develop the skill of getting better at it. You don't need to use a lot of complex tools to do that. Just start with what I've recommended, and that'll get you started. Alrighty? If you happen to need a sounding board, and I know for some of you who've been doing this, you don't even know me. So, who wants to talk to a stranger? I don't know. But just in case, and you need clarity, you need to process it, please book a call with me. I offer a 30-minute complimentary call, and I'm actually doing this for free right now during this current time frame. If you are reviewing this and you know me, and you have colleagues or friends that need help, I get recommended a lot for helping people get clear. That's one of my most popular coaching sessions. I call them listening sessions, actually. And please recommend this to a friend, and they don't have to pay for it. Why have people suffer and struggle if they don't have to? With one session, you can get clarity. You can save money. You can save time just with one session. So email me or text me. I am here to serve you and to help you out. We're all in this together, as we work through an incredibly challenging time for our nation and really for the world. So I invite you to stay with me, hang with me, subscribe to the channel if you need more tips, download the worksheets, and I look forward to working with you should you need to, or stay connected with you via social media or other ways of connecting. All right, be well, take care, good luck.